What brought you to San Diego?
It was, so I started looking for jobs because I was like, I love this, but this is not my jam. So
Sure.
I applied for a job at a biotech startup, and I was like, maybe, you know, I have my degree in biochemistry, maybe, you know, I can try lab work out and see how that works out. So I got hired as like employee number 8 to a company called BioSpider.
Mm-hmm.
And their product was building sort of gene panels that they would do RNA sequencing against. So as a scientist, I could come in and say, I want to work on, or I want to test these 100 genes. And we'd put together this custom panel for them and run it, and they would get some data back that would tell them things that, yeah, gene expression.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like hired into the impression that I was going to be doing lab work. And on day one, they were kind of like, okay, we have, you know, some other tasks. We need these security cameras set up, and we have this inventory management process that doesn't work, and we have this robot that doesn't work either. And I was like, okay. So I set up the security cameras, which I did not think I was going to be doing. And then jumped into the inventory management stuff. Mm-hmm. And they basically had their whole thing in Excel.
Yeah.
And so when a customer would come to us, they would take the first, like, they would go through their list manually, and they would pick out the individual things that a customer would want. And so the human genome has about 25,000 targets. Yeah. So like combing through a list of 25,000, building like a new list of 2,000, and then having a scientist handpick was like not a scalable process.
No.
So my VP of R&D, she was like, there's this thing called SQL. I don't know what it is, but you need to figure it out.
Okay. So
with like no idea of what I was really doing, I just kind of Googled some Stanford open software courses on database design and SQL query language, and just kind of started teaching myself and modeling the data that I was seeing just around that process. So I ended up kind of creating this table for probe design where we held all the individual sequences, and I had this join table to inventory. And then I had each customer get their own table that would point to like the inventory record and the design record. And I just like was so stoked with this thing that I was building that it was all in SQL. You know, I ended up writing some stored procedures for like ingesting a CSV and spitting out a file that we would put into this robot. And so it became this kind of like well-oiled process that for all I know, is kind of still exists there today.
That's great.
Yeah. So that was a super cool. That would be my my realization that like, oh my gosh, this is what.
There's a whole world.
I was like Amazon runs like this.
Right. There's a lot behind that you wanted to dive into.
Yeah, I had this Neo in the Matrix moment. Like, I know Kung Fu. It was really powerful.
That's awesome.